Hello everyone, welcome to another Awakening Beauty contemplation. As always, before we start, I would like to invite you to grab one of your favorite drinks, tea, coffee, or simply a glass of water, and join me for a brief contemplation about yoga, maybe even a short presentation. This could be insightful for the ones who doesn't know much about yoga, who are in the beginning stages of their yoga journey, or simply who is interested in hearing more about yoga in general. I am a forever student, but so far it has been a couple decades of journeying with yoga, and I am very grateful for all the wisdom and all the beauty it has brought to my life. And as an extension of that, in our weekly Awakening Beauty circles a couple of weeks ago, I made a presentation about yoga and how it really helped me to awaken the beauty in me first, and through that inner integration, express more of it out in the world. So, with that intention, I would like to bring a couple slides that I shared with my circle into the space as well. This will be the second time that we are leading with a share, so let's try whether it's going to work again. I think we made it. Yeah, this is a couple years ago in Times Square in New York when I was doing yoga with hundreds, maybe even 1,000 people. It was a celebration of summer solstice, and it was such a phenomenal experience to ground ourselves in the beauty of yoga, in the craziness of New York. It's such a dramatic experience while you are just laying down there, seeing all the advertisement, but in you, everything is calm, everything is silent. If you have the opportunity to have this experience, I would definitely recommend it for anyone interested in yoga. Okay, so let's start with the basics. So in my own journey, yoga appeared in my life when I was a child. I still remember it as if it was yesterday. We were visiting one of our relatives, and in her bookstore, I saw a book filled with yoga poses. And I opened the book, not knowing anything about yoga and physical poses, asanas at that point. Something deeply connected to me. And I remember just playing with that book, trying to do the exercises, not knowing anything about it. So that was my first intuitive knowing that there's something in that book and there's something in this philosophy for me. And years passed. At the end of college, when I was trying to balance my life with a little bit more active mobility, I started doing yoga and Pilates. And in the center that I've been a member of, I had an amazing yoga teacher who was so much into the depths of yoga, not only helping us to do the movements, but helping us to embody the overall philosophy of yoga. I can admit at the time I was still a little bit immature in my approach, and the way maybe that I was approaching yoga was a little bit more on the physical side. So I was leaning more towards intense workouts or Pilates instead of yoga, but something in me was always drawn to yoga philosophy. So I was very much attracted to deep contemplative unfoldings with the teacher after our yoga class. But like I said, at the time, I was not ready. And I remember having a conversation with him, telling him about his dilemmas in me. Like, I love these conversations, contemplations, but I'm not in a space to integrate this practice into my life every day. And he shared a important wisdom with me. He said, maybe you're not ready. When you are ready, the teacher and the practice will appear again. And so it did. A couple years later, when I was at Harvard Business School, it was a very intense environment and we were so busy with the mind stuff, but I needed something to ground myself desperately. And out of that need, I started doing yoga regularly as a part of my weekly routine. And that ignited a different kind of relationship between yoga and myself, not only seeing it as a physical exercise, but seeing it as a part of my own journey to bring all of myself into this world, uniting my body, mind, and soul. And I think that brings me to the definition of yoga, what it really means. Yoga really means to come into unity. When you look into the root, it literally means in its native language, the unity of mind, body, and soul. It's a journey that helps us to integrate different expressions of what it means to be a human in a holistic experience. And to describe it a little bit more visually, I like this view as well. So think about it. So in the yoga experience, through asanas, body movements, we connect to our body. We feel it more, we release it more. And the more that we release stress, whatever we accumulate in our bodies, the more we open more physical space in our bodies for deep breathing. So through that deep breathing, which is the bridge between the body and the mind, according to yogis, then we can calm our conscious minds. So through that deep breathing, we can slow our nervous system down. And then that can help us to go even deeper into the unconscious mind, which is that level beyond the mind. So according to yogic philosophy, it's easier, especially in the Western world, it's easier to start with the outmost level body and then gradually move inside through the body movements, connecting to the breath, through the breath, calming our mind, and through that mind calmness, going to the stage beyond the mind, to the unconscious, and simply resting there in the unity of our body, mind, and soul. So there are a couple books that I think might be useful if you are into yoga. So this is from Osho, Yoga as the Science of the Soul. He says yoga is the mathematics of inner being. In a way, it is not dogmatic. It's not asking you to believe in something. It's simply asking you to go through the experience yourself and see the value as an embodiment of the experience. And what I like the most about the book is really this simple comparison between science and the spiritual approach of yoga. He says science is outer, it does experiments outside. Yoga is an inner experiment, doing the embodiment and experiences inside. So in a way, there are actually two ways of approaching the truth from different angles. And when I prepared the presentation, it was a couple of weeks ago, I took this from this particular book, but a couple days ago, I finished off physics. And in the same book, I've seen the same kind of definition of science being an outer experiment, but all the mystical paths, including Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism, which also is an extension of the yogic principles, it's an inside experiment. So you don't need to believe in something. You just have to be open enough to experiment and see what it means for you. And in the end, if we do this right, both paths lead to the same result. Yoga means to encounter the reality as it is, getting rid of our illusions, getting rid of our boundaries, limitations, coming into that unity of body, mind, and soul beyond the limitations of our human experience. It's a beautiful book with lots of contemplations. Definitely recommend it. And the second one is The Path of the Yoga Sutras. So in this one, I also like the definition of yoga. So it says, is yoga a science? Is yoga a philosophy? Or is yoga a religion? And here it says, maybe it's all of the three. It's a science because it represents knowledge of the physical world based on observation and experience, coming back to the previous definition. So you don't have to believe in something, you just have to experience it and test it yourself, which is the basis of scientific method. The second one is it's a philosophy because it investigates the truth and the principles of existence, knowledge, and the contact. And in the end, it could be also seen as religion because it describes the matters of very fine, subtle nature, beyond the mind, beyond what is seen, and it's based on a theory of creation that involves an unchanging, permanent, and divine awareness, which is named as Purusha. And seen this way, it has some religious aspects as well. Another beautiful book that's very accessible for everyone who would like to understand the soul and the essence of yoga. And this is just another reflection from a more modern Western approach. Here we have Carl Jung, who says yoga is a discipline. He is very humble. He says, I will be silent on the meaning of yoga for India because I cannot assume to pass judgment on something I don't know from personal experience. I can, however, say something about what it means for the West. Our lack of direction borders on psychic anarchy. Therefore, any religious or philosophical discipline, and therefore a method for psychic hygiene, is valuable. And this is literally a medicine that we need today in the world in which we do everything quick and fast, but without that depth of integration, depth of unity, depth of meaning that we so crave. So as you can see, regardless of who you listen to, whether someone from a more Eastern background or someone from more Western training, it points to the same truth. So in my own journey, yoga came to my life when I have realized that all the efforts that I have been doing externally was not meaningful unless I have changed it myself. I realized that I'm repeating the same patterns. Maybe the names are changing, maybe the locations and the places are changing, but the life lessons are repeating itself. And that moment I have realized that I'm not able to see the reality as it is, and I am drowned in my own illusions, and I desperately needed some healing. So this was the moment something in me wanted me to focus on myself. And as my dear spiritual teacher Rumi says, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. This is how I started my journey, day by day, in small steps, doing yoga, opening my body, releasing all the tension restored in my body, opening my breath more and more through that deep breathing, connecting to my mind, calming my mind, giving my nervous system what I need, and through that, facing some of the challenges that I didn't have the power to face before, loving them, integrating them. The first of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is like the Bible for yogis, starts with this simple framing. It says, now the teachings or the discipline of yoga begin. And according to some teachers, the meaning of this is very simple and very much linked to the previous quote. It says, well, you have tried everything external, had this wonderful job, married this beautiful woman, had these beautiful children, but something in you is still feeling like is lacking. This is the stage you realize that what you're searching cannot be found externally out in the world. It is that inner unity that you can only find in you. So that now really means, okay, you have gone through the journey of life, and now you are humble enough to accept and appreciate that what you're searching is not out there, it's in you. So thus the teachings and the discipline of yoga begin, which is a journey that brings us to the unity of our body, mind, and soul together. So there are different forms and styles of yoga. According to some resources, currently we might even have almost 100 different styles, but in the ancient traditional terms, there are just a handful that I would like to bring into the space just for ease of use as well. Like I said, there are different variations of this, but this is a high-level introduction. The first one is hatha, which really means sun and the moon. This is the physical exercises in which you hold the poses for some time. So it's basically connecting to body, mind, and soul through a more physical asana and holding those physical poses quite some time. Tantra means weaving. So in the traditional history of yogis, they used to seclude themselves from the society and restrain themselves in very strict terms. But tantric yogis were the ones who were still functioning in the society. So weaving literally means weaving the principles of life. You could be a household person, married, and have a job, but still practice Tantra, have a more humane experience in the society while also integrating the yogic principles into your everyday life. Jnana Yoga, which is based on more of the heavily mind-started contemplative process. So you think about the wisdom and the knowledge from ancient traditions and you contemplate the meaning of them. Raja Yoga, which is known as the King Yoga, it's a classical yoga that helps you to self-restrain yourself so that you can connect to that inner purity of the soul. Karma Yoga means to do. It comes from the Cree, and it's an action-based, service-based yoga in which you devote your life energy to do service for the love of all. And Bhakti is a devotional type. Bhakti literally means devotion. It's a heart-based yoga in which you devote your life and energy for the love of life. Once again, there is so much joy, there is so much singing, there's so much rituals in Bhakti Yoga as well. So in my own personal journey, I have tried all of them. And depending on different centers and different applications, each might have slight differences. Like I said, if you are so much physically focused, maybe a hatha based is a good starting point or different variations of that. If you are more into scientific thinking, contemplation, the mind space, maybe a wisdom and knowledge contemplation style would be better for you. But if you are so much into maybe art, poetry, a more lyrical, a more poetic approach, like a devotional path of bhakti, might be good for you too. So I would definitely recommend you to give it a try and see what works for you. But in the end, what is required is really a holistic experience. And in the ones that I had the opportunity to experience in a holistic manner, these elements were always feasible. So you start with physical exercises, which is asana, like I said, opening the body. And through that, getting into deep breathing work to connect to your nervous system. And at some point, either before this or after that, you can integrate wisdom reading and collective contemplations within a community. And depending on the type, if it's Bhakti Yoga, there could be a kirtan, which literally means devotional singing to divine. Today, we see yoga as a physical practice most of the time in the Western world, but I personally see yoga as a medicine as well. So there are different physical movements that can help us to give us the balance that we need, which is one of the core benefits of yoga. So, for example, I am a mostly mental person. So, given the work that I do and given the world that I live in, which is Western world, and I do lots of contemplation, writing, and speaking, sometimes I am so much in my mind, which really means I need to feel grounded in my body again. And these are just a couple poses that I usually use to ground my energy. The first one is literally forward fold. So as you can see, you are bringing your head to the ground, which literally brings energy to the ground and helps you to calm your mind. The second one is squat, which is once again very much coming closer to the ground and earthing yourself type of physical movement. And the last one is shavasana, which is how we end things, just calming yourself on the ground, being connected to the all. So depending on where you are in your life journey in a particular day, you can also consciously use yoga as your medicine to balance the energy. And if you know that you are going to have a very busy day, this could be a preparation for you early in the morning to make sure that you are bringing all of yourself and best of yourself to the day as well. And lastly, there is a sister science of yoga, once again emerging from Indian culture, Ayurveda, which means the science of life. And according to this, each person has a specific energetic imprint. It could be Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. I'm not going to go into details. You can look for that. But depending on your type, depending on the seasons, you can also complement your approach to overall lifestyle, including your eating habits, including your medicine needs based on Ayurvedic principles as well. And they go very much beautifully hand in hand with yoga. So in the end, what is yoga? Like I said, in the Western world, it is known as a physical practice or practiced as a physical exercise most of the time. But I think yoga is a lot more than that. Yoga has been my medicine for healing. It really helped me to overcome most of my trauma that I stored in my body. And through the movement, I was able to open my body more. And through that openness, I was able to connect to my breath. And through that breath connection, I was able to calm my mind and sit with the uncomfortable feelings that I was not able to sit with before. And that really helped me to connect to my inner beauty and see the beauty of life as it is. So, seen this way, it is a science, it's an experiential science. It is a philosophy. It's a life philosophy that can help you to be life, to connect to all of life. And yeah, it has some spiritual elements as well. It gives you meaning. Through that, you can connect to what is unseen. And yoga is a way of life as well. It's a way of life if you give it enough intention and attention that can reveal all the beauty of life. Well, I hope this inspires you to give it a try. If you have tips and recommendations, if you are a student of yoga, please join us in the comments and let's create this space for collective learning and collective practicing. With that, thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention. Until next time, remember your inner beauty and express more of it out into the world. Thank you all.